night sky at night. Take me home. Monty Road.
It's Thursday, you know what that means. It's the Red Sky big match preview, big match review as well, as we look back on the Rotherham game and ahead to Preston North End at the weekend. The playoffs are now secured and Barnsley can look ahead to the May 17th and May 22nd games in the playoffs, whomever they may come up against. Joined today by Wayne Goodison. Wayne, good afternoon, mate.
You doing? You okay?
Yes, Al, mate, thank you. And joined by Callum Cooper, Mr. Pitchside himself. He was very active on Pitchside on Saturday because there was a lot of hustling and bustling during that game. So we heard quite a lot from you, Cal. How are you getting on, mate?
I'm very good, mate. Thank you. No, it was certainly involved during that game, wasn't it? It were quite an interesting one, but no, thankfully it turned out well for Barnsley in the end, didn't it?
It certainly did. Just want to welcome everybody to the show. Thank you for listening or watching. If you're catching us on YouTube or Audio Boom, Spotify, wherever you can get us. We're on all the social media, Instagram, Twitter. You can catch us, like I say, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audio Boom, and YouTube. Well, we can get straight into it then, lads. 5 main talking points, I think, from the weekend. I think, to be fair, you can say the Reds had it lucky, but earned it over a season, the look that they got on Saturday. This was Barnsley's 23rd championship win of the season and by far their least deserved. The Reds produced one of their worst displays under Valerian Ismail. That's the manager's words as well. He said they were very, very poor, but they got away with it. It's just at this stage of the season, Wayne, it's far from convincing or enjoyable, but the points were all that mattered on Saturday.
Completely. I mean, I think the Huddersfield game in the week was a really, really good performance, really good. And so, you know, I'd say you get a bit of credit for that. And it was just one of those, I mean, we said it in commentary, maybe we scored a little bit too early, and it almost, for the players, then it becomes a little bit, what do we do? Do we kind of stick? Do we twist? Do we go after them? And in fairness, they were good. They were decent. You know, I think definitely if they could have finished, then they would have won the game comfortably. But sometimes you get that, and like you say, you ride your luck and you take what comes, and they deserve it over the season, as you say.
Yeah. I've got to say, Callum, I think that the hosts were very cumbersome, a bit ponderous, slow to loose balls, and in the decision-making as well, and they struggled to string passes together or attack in their usual purposeful way. How many times last season did we see Barnsley, though, play like Rotherham did and come away with nothing?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I've seen so many comments along those lines of, you know, Rotherham being the far better side and they had so many chances, and how identical that is to the Barnsley side of last season. And ultimately, you know, we played well so many times and didn't get the win. So, you know, it's a tough one, really, isn't it? Because we all know that the performances have been better this season, but we got the 3 points. So really, we've played well so many times in the past few seasons, and always ended up either getting relegated or just staying up, and it's not really been good come the end of the season. So for me, it doesn't matter what the performances are like, as long as the 3 points are coming, and that's what's happening. And you know, we guaranteed ourselves in the playoffs. It didn't really matter how it came, we got the win in the end. And Rotherham, they're going to be fighting for every single point. So I don't think there's too much cause for concern with that performance. I know it's not ideal because it's the end of the season. We're just about to come into the playoffs. You want to be in good form, but we're playing against a team that are fighting for their lives. So, you know, you're going to see that. As you've said, we played like that at the end of last season and put in some good performances against sides at the top of the table. So I don't think there's too much cause for concern. But you know, we're all happy, aren't we? We got the win in the end.
Yeah, to be fair, Wayne, I think Barnsley have probably owed some fortune after their sensational efforts all season. While it's one of the intangible byproducts of success, though, that everything starts to go your way, doesn't it, a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. And I mean, you know, Callum's just talking about sort of last year, and it, you know, one of the worst things that you want as a coach is when you come off pitch and the opposition manager, you got beaten, he goes, "Oh, you play some really nice football. Aren't you unlucky?" You know, this year's been different. People have you know, some of the opposition have moaned about the style of football, but we've not been lucky over the season. It is, you finish where you finish on merit, and you know, we finished where we did last year on merit, and that was about right. And it's exactly the same now. You know, we're in a position where the whole, if you like, the whole body of work, the whole season has got us to this point. And I think, again, you know, psychologically that that last little push through the day in a player's mind. You're so close. You're a bit nervy. You don't want to make a mistake that maybe takes it to 1-1, or even you lose the game and then you're sweating a little bit on what Reading do. But the mindset will be different now, because I think there are 2 more games obviously to go in the league, but going into the playoffs, anything now. Well, I think anything now where we are is a bonus, but certainly anything going into the playoffs is an absolute bonus for us as a club.
Yeah. I'll come to you first, Wayne, on this one. Do you think, as suggested by the manager at full time, that there was an air of nervousness amongst the players with the top 6 so close to being secured?
That's the point I'm making. You know, as with anything, you know, players are not immune to being nervous or having a little bit of unease about what may or may not happen. Just like fans were. You know, I saw stuff on social media over the last few weeks. Fans getting nervous and I'm not sure I can watch this game, and then obviously getting a little bit sort of het up when it doesn't quite go our way in the first 10-15 minutes. It's naturally human beings, you know. So yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think I personally, and I said it after the Huddersfield game, I thought the work was done at Huddersfield, and it's pretty much borne out that way with Reading's results. And I think Reading will lose again or drop points again, which would be fine. That was the biggest game for me, that Huddersfield one, because coming off the back of the Coventry defeat, if we hadn't picked up points there or performed like we did, then all of a sudden you're thinking, well, this is 2 games now. If it goes into a 3rd game, like Callum just said, you might start thinking the form's gone a little bit, the confidence has gone a little bit. So to perform like they did at Huddersfield was the key for me. So Saturday, ultimately, we were nervous, weren't we, Callum? You know, we were sat there with 10 minutes before, and I'm telling the referee to blow, I'm telling people to kick it out and stuff like that. And because because it's so close as a player, and some of those may never get in that position ever again. Some might, but some won't. And to be so close to something and just thinking, I don't want to make that mistake, nerves are bound to set in. So, and you could tell that after the game as well. You know, there was no celebration from the players after the game, or, you know, that normally when they win, the dugout are up and everybody's congratulating you. They almost like, it was like a collective sigh of relief, and let's just get off the pitch and take it, you know. But as you said before, Chris, absolutely deserve to be where they are because of what they've done this season. Yeah.
Cal, could you sense the nervousness then? You were down on pitch side. What was it like down on the bench?
Yeah, I think that certainly added to the poor performance, really. You know, frustrations were certainly apparent in the dugout. You could see Valor and Ismail clearly weren't happy with his side and how they were playing. Often, you know, throwing his arms in his air, shaking his head. You know, he's so animated on the sideline. But it's just the high standards that they demand. And when they're not hitting them high standards, they're always going to be frustrated. But you know, we probably can put it down to nervousness. You know, it's a really young side. They've not really been in this position before, pushing for promotion to the Premier League. I don't think anybody in that side has. So you can understand that they're going to be a bit nervous, but the sort of worrying thing about that is when they're playing in those big games in the playoffs and the semis and potentially the final, will those nerves overtake them and sort of, you know, worsen the performance like it did against Rotherham? Hopefully not. And with them being young, I think it can work both ways. They can either let it consume them and let it eat them up a little bit, or work the other way and they just have that fearless mentality and just go at it and just go gun-ho on the day. And hopefully that's going to be the case. You know, it's cliche, but I guess time will tell, and no one's going to be able to predict what happens. But I think there was definitely an element of nerves there. So hopefully now, the players have been confirmed and everything's set in stone, we can just relax a little bit, put his feet up for these last 2 games. but no, maybe just relax a little bit now. Now the job is half done, even though there's so much more work to do. We've got there now, so at least the players can just relax a little bit.
Yeah, Wayne, you
different
mentioned...
dynamic, isn't it? It's a different dynamic now because, like I say, that sort of nervousness, even a month ago where we weren't certain, people think, will we get there, we'll not get there. I think the players will have been the same. Once it got a little bit closer, we saw occasionally in games a little bit of nerves creeping. Luton away was a classic. Last 10 minutes, a little bit of nerves crept in. Been great up to 80 minutes. Whereas now, like I say, whoever we get in the playoffs, it's an absolute free hit. And I know, I'm fairly certain the manager will be kind of going that way. Yeah, he'll be setting up to win the game, and the players will believe they can win the game.
Yeah.
But there is no real nerves from. Now, what we do want, is to get to 10 minutes to go in the final at Wembley and be winning. And then the nerves can settle in, no problem.
Yeah. Wayne, you mentioned Reading a minute ago, and you think they'll drop more points before the end of the season. Obviously, that's neither here
League
nor
too many
there at the
goals.
minute.
League too many.
When I listened to their manager at full time on Sunday, he said, we'll get the players back fit, we'll go again, but at least we play the right way. Such sour grapes, isn't there? Playing the right way hasn't got them into the playoffs.
Well, that's the classic comment from. I mean, I thought he was poor when he came to us. Really poor, his comments and just walking off after the game. Karanka did it at Birmingham and obviously went not long after. I think no matter what you think about the opposition or what goes on, you go and shake hands after the game, no matter what. So that tells you a lot about his character. And it's all right saying the right way. What is the right way? What is the right way?
There isn't one. We're talking to Craig. Craig said it. He says it don't matter. It don't matter.
It's professional football.
Yeah.
If you're working in an academy in an under-8s team and through to whatever, and in theory the right way is you want your players to get on the ball and play through the thirds and all very nice and very sanitised. No problem. It's professional football. People's livelihoods are on the line here. People lose jobs if clubs go down, if they don't get promoted. Reading have had a big wage bill. I'm sure there's some considerations there. So absolutely, it's sour grapes from a lot of the other managers. And look where they are. Again, I said it. These clubs with big budgets did not like the fact that we've come from nowhere, and absolutely gate crashed their party.
What's fascinated me about this is it's clubs, though. I know Bournemouth have been in the Premier League for 5 years, but in theory, Barnsley have been at this level a lot longer than some of these teams. Your Readings, Bournemouths, Brentfords, Swanseas. And Barnsley I look down on, and it baffles me, Wayne, because as long as I've been watching Barnsley, it's never been boring. There's always been something happening. And the disrespect, I think, at times touches a nerve so much because of the fact that Barnsley have been here a lot longer than these teams have at this level.
Well, I go back further than that. I'll go back to my time there. And we always kind of felt, even in the junior teams, in the Central League teams, first team, most places you went kind of looked down at us for whatever reason. I've no idea why. Just kind of looked down at us. Probably thought small club, whatever. But we're not. And as you say, in the last probably 30 years, I would guess we've been in this division longer than many other teams. Now, all right, you could say, well, that's about our level. Maybe it isn't. Occasionally, if we can pop ourselves up a division, then great. But I think the snobbery from other clubs it's quite interesting to watch, and a lot of it is down to their own failings. That's purely and simply all it is with a lot of them, Chris. Because if you're Reading, if you're look at Derby. Yeah. My God, look at Derby. They're still sweating on staying up. Middlesbrough, you could name probably another 10, 12 teams that have got massive budgets that should be pushing for those positions. Obviously, not everybody can get in there. And what have we done? Just sailed through.
Yeah, that's fair. Callum, it came out after the game that Rotherham goalkeeper left the field with a broken eye socket. I'll say over the years I've been guilty of thinking keepers have too much protection. Wayne definitely thought that in the Reading game, listening back to the commentary. But Barnsley got away with this one, didn't they, with the goal on Saturday?
Yeah, we did. And I think we said it at the time, didn't we, Wayne, on commentary, that it did look like a foul on the replay. He's come flying in with his arm. And it's a difficult one because, in real time for the referee, it's such a tough decision. And as you said, we've seen it so many times this season, fouls on the goalkeeper. Well, fouls, I use the term lightly, where it's gone in the favour of the goalkeeper and it's barely been touched. As you said, the Reading one, I think, the Cardiff one as well, that was given against us. There's been a few this season that's not worked in our favour. So to get one was nice, but it was certainly a foul. He's come flying in. Unintentional, I think. He's just gone. He's only looking at the ball. It's a natural position in it to raise your arm as you're jumping. So there's nothing intentional there. A few comments saying that Carlton Morris should have been sent off, but not for me. There's no intention in it. Yeah, no chance at all. Yeah, exactly. There's no intention from Morris whatsoever. And I think you could see there were not really that much of a celebration from him or anyone else really once the goal went in. So that told you everything in terms of what he thought, and he probably thought that he'd fouled the goalkeeper as well. And to be honest, I think it worked against us, that early goal. Going into the game, DK, Woodrow and Morris playing together for the first time, I expected a really, really good attacking sort of display. I were hoping it's going to be the first time where we sort of put a few goals past the team. And we started really well. Woodrow had the effort just before, which led to a corner, and then Morris scored that. So I was really up for it. But no, I think it actually worked against us in terms of the performance. But in the end, it was the winning goal. As you said, probably shouldn't have been given, but finally one went our way.
Interesting stat, Wayne, on Rotherham. You could argue that they've posed the biggest threat to Barnsley this season. Out of all the teams the Reds have played twice, the Millers have had the most shots on target against Barnsley, 12 over 180 minutes of football plus injury time. Is that a case of Rotherham playing Barnsley at their own game, Wayne?
No, I thought we said it sort of like after about 5 minutes when they changed the goalkeeper that they'd shown a real good sort of reaction to that, because some teams could have thought, oh, we're a goal down, we're struggling at the bottom, we've lost a player, we've got to rejig things a little bit. But no, I thought they were good. I don't think they tried particularly all the time to match us. They did to an extent. You know, they were happy to put balls in behind us like we do with them, but they had a bit of pace out wide. I think that their biggest problem, obviously, with no rocket science, was the finishing, because, I mean, they had two in the 6-yard line that should be tap-ins, you know, and it's a totally different game. And any manager, you know, we had the same thing last year, didn't score enough. If you're on top and you don't score, something's going to come back on you somewhere down the line. You know, either, you know, going to end up just getting a zero at the end of the score column, or somebody will go and score against you from a set piece or something. And that was the biggest thing. I think if they take their chances on Saturday, their clear chances, they'd probably win 3-1.
Yeah, and that's fair.
And that's probably that's going to be their problem. You know, they've got 3 games left, I think, them, haven't they? So, and they've got to win the next one. And I'm sure when their analysts look at it, they've probably done that in a lot of games where they had a lot of attempts at goal, a lot of attacking play. I thought they played with a real good spirit, but it's counting for nothing for them at the moment, unfortunately.
No. The two sides, Wayne, have often been pigeonholed together as plucky South Yorkshire outfits who are too big for League One, but not rich enough for the Championship, often yo-yoing between the two divisions, sometimes in opposite directions, to be quite fair. Barnsley have proven this season that cycle can be broken. Despite relegation looking likely, can Paul Warne and Rotherham gain hope for the future from Barnsley's success this season?
Well, I think they can, and you know, if they do go down and he can keep what I saw there, majority of his team who play real good spirit, bit of quality about them, but get someone who can get him some goals, then you would see no reason why they wouldn't be at the top end of that division. But I would really like them to get to win the game in hand and put the pressure back on Derby and go into that last. If they could get like us last day of the season, then when we're talking about nerves, then that'll be an interesting one, because you know, you look at us last year at Brentford, we played with no nerves because it was kind of, well, we were probably expected to lose here. Rotherham could be the same. Derby would be a whole different ball game for them if they have to get something on the last day.
Certainly. Carl wants to talk about Brad Collins. He's been exceptional, and he's now, for me, one of Barnes' most consistent performers. He seems to time every run out of his area to perfection at the moment, and he showed with the saves on Saturday how good he is at point-blank range. How important is it to have somebody like that behind you when you're playing football, knowing that you've got somebody that's in such a rich vein of form?
Yeah, massively important. And to be honest, I love him. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he don't get enough credit really for how good this Barnsley side's been, because to be honest, it's massively down to him. We play that high line, the ball's over the top, he comes rushing out and pretty much gets every single one right, and he allows us to do that. The manager clearly trusts him, he allows us to play like that. And if you think really, with how good the defence has been, there's not been too many games where he's been called upon by saving shots. As weird as it is, his most involvement in the games with his feet when he's rushing off his line and booting it out. So, and when he has been called upon to save a lot of chances, like the game against Rotherham, it comes up big again and saves his team in a different way. So he's just been absolutely outstanding. And as you said, you need that. In a successful side needs a really strong commanding goalkeeper. The defence have been outstanding, but that'll be massively down to the trust that they've got in the goalkeeper as and when he gets involved, that they can trust him to come up clutch when he does. And it's just fantastic that when he comes off his line, you can see, if you watch him, he's always on the front foot. Obviously he's been told to do this, but he's superb at doing it. He's always on the front foot, ready for the ball to come over the top, and he's straight out there, no hesitation whatsoever, times it to perfection. He's like an outfield player. Times it to perfection, gets there every single time, and he's just been brilliant. And no, as I said, just to repeat, the saves he made on Saturday, some of them, as Wayne said, a couple inside the 6-yard box, just brilliant. He had no right to save them. And he's got us the win there, and essentially got us over the line for the playoffs. He's been absolutely magnificent and deserves a lot more credit.
With how good
the
he is,
thing with that as well. The thing with that is as well, they'll work a lot on those distances between the three centre halves and the goalkeeper when they come out. And if the three centre halves weren't confident in his ability behind to react to that and get that right, there'd be hesitation coming out. They wouldn't come out as quick as we do. They wouldn't catch as many forwards out with it, and we'd put ourselves under a lot more pressure. So that's, as Callum says, that's a real skill. And I think we said it before. I think that's why he's gone with him, because I don't think there's much in between him and Walton as goalkeepers. I think he's a lot better with his understanding of when to go and reading the game, and so he has been massive for us this year.
Cal mentioned the front three, Wayne, previously earlier in the show. It was an attack force many fans have been calling for some time this season. All three made crucial contributions defensively. They tracked back well and they were good at clearing set pieces, but they didn't play like a first choice attack of a top six side. Did it seem a little bit disjointed on Saturday, the front three? Or was that more Rotherham's strength at the back?
No, I think combination. Yeah, maybe Rotherham were quite good. I think we just didn't play well as a team to get the service quite right. We said a couple of times we normally hit balls into good areas, and I know people say it's a bit long ballish, but there's a method behind it. They pick good areas to put it in, and we just went a little bit straight on Saturday, down to nerves, I think. But the three of them played together for the second half at Huddersfield and were really, really good. Really good. But they got good service. We were better on the ball in midfield, and we got into good areas and played into them. Whereas on Saturday, after the first 10-15 minutes, we didn't really play that well for the reasons that we've already discussed. So if your front three are not getting the service, it doesn't matter what you think about how good they may or may not be. Or I do like everybody. I think that's the strongest front three. I understand why he's maybe reluctant to play them all the time, because of then the impact that he gets off the bench. And so don't be surprised if we don't see that front three again, between now and sort of every game towards the end of the season. But I think it's just down to the way that the whole team just collectively didn't quite hit the heights they had done.
No. Corley Woodrow's only scored one goal from open play in 19 matches. Will that be playing on his mind, Wayne? Obviously, as an ex-professional, a defender yourself, but you've been in teams. Will that be playing a little bit on Corley's mind at the minute?
Possibly. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to Derek Parker down at the Luton game, and we were like you do reminiscing, and I was saying how Derek, if he didn't score in a game, was like a bear with a sore head. He used to, when you're apprentices, you used to avoid going in the dressing room near him because he'd be throwing boots around, kicking off. And he sort of said that. He said, if I'd not scored for that many games, I'd be going absolutely mad. He said, but he seems to have a much better temperament, and much calmer temperament, much sort of, easy about his game, I think. And I think he's very easy with himself and his role in the team. So I'm sure it does bother him because he's a forward and they all like to score goals. But I don't see it one where, I think if he gets the chance, because he's got good technique, you wouldn't see him snatch it. I think if he got a chance to finish, he'll get in and finish. And don't forget, he is playing a slightly different role as well to what you would. If you stuck him down the middle, you'd probably get similar amount of goals as DK has got now. But he's playing, like he did last year, a little bit out of position, but he's a good footballer, so he's sacrificing that, if you like, for the good of the team. You've got to remember that.
Yeah. Daryl DK, Callum looks like he's going to stay for the playoffs. Those talks that he could possibly end up going back to Orlando before the end of the season, that seems to have been cleared up in the week by Dane Murphy. How important is that going to be as Barnes head towards that first leg of the semi-final?
Yeah, it's massive. There were always that little worry, weren't there? I think his loan, when he initially signed, his loan was supposed to expire on the 3rd of May or something like that, which would obviously have been before the playoffs, and that would have just been disastrous, wouldn't it? The impact he's had since he's come in, he's absolutely unbelievable. Corley Woodrow, you've just been saying, a fantastic player, and he's been forced out onto the right just because of how vital Daryl DK is playing that central striker role, bullying defenders. He's just got everything. He's quick, he's strong, he can finish. He's just been absolutely brilliant. And if we couldn't extend his loan for the playoffs, that would be horrendous. It would almost be like playing with a different team. The way we've set up with him is crucial to how we play, and is that target to it up front. Yes, we've got Carlton Morris, but if he then played that central role to be the target man, you take away the work that he's done on the left, dropping deep, picking the ball up, taking players on. So it just completely scrambled the whole team up and really, obviously, would have such a negative impact. So thankfully, we're able to keep him for the playoffs, and let's hope, touch wood, that he's the one that can get us over the line. But, we don't like to say anything too early, do we?
As we look ahead to Saturday then, Wayne, Preston North End away, how do you see Barnsley setting up? Because I'm of the opinion that I'd love them to finish sixth, because you get your play at home first. I'm not suggesting the manager's looking at throwing games, that's silly talk, but is he going to look at resting a few players now, maybe, because he's very much picked from the same 17, hasn't he, all season?
Yeah. I don't think he would for this particular game. I think he might rest a few more for Norwich, maybe. But I would expect him to do, because he's always rested him. He's rotated him, hasn't he, every game? There's always a couple of changes. So yeah. I would expect to see the same thing, really. And listen, the players will want to play as well. At this stage, what's the playoffs? Is it 17th of May, the first game? Something like that. A long way off. If all of a sudden you say, well, we'll rest you for the next 3 weeks. I wouldn't want that. You'd want to play. You want to play, you want to train, you want to keep the routine as normal as possible, and not get carried away with doing something different. So I think he'll do his usual, rotate the 2 or 3 maybe that he would normally do for the game. May even do that for the Norwich game as well, because just for the basis that he wants to keep them playing.
Certainly. Interesting, speaking to Craig yesterday, Cal, he said that Dave Bassett sent him away for 4 days before the Birmingham match, before the training started for the semi-final, sent him to Tenerife to refresh his batteries. But in this day and age, lockdown, central, that isn't going to happen. So it's going to be a case of keeping fitness up and just keeping a good core atmosphere amongst the group, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't think anyone will be sent to Tenerife, would they? Football's changed. I mean, regardless of COVID, football's changed massively, hasn't it, over the sort of last 20 years or so. But no, it's a tough one, isn't it? And I've seen opinions from fans on both sides. You sort of want to rest the players because you can't risk injuries. But then again, injuries could happen at any time. Somebody could pull up in the semi-final with whatever. So it's a weird one. For me, I think you need to keep the ball rolling, don't you? A side like this, a young side that thrives on confidence, you just need to keep the ball rolling. Maybe short on the time that they've got on the pitch with the substitutions, and just switch it up a little bit with likes of Jordan Williams playing at left back, maybe give Callum Styles a rest, Apo Alme a little bit more game time, and little things like that. But you just need to keep players playing for me, keep that momentum going, because if we are going to do it, we're going to do it by just going through teams with that momentum and confidence. So no, we don't want to be resting players, in my opinion. We just need to keep playing as we're playing, and what will be will be.
Yeah. Quick links. I know Wayne's got to get off as well. He's got a team meeting, hasn't he, tonight? Wayne, Preston obviously not much to play for. So what type of game do you expect as we head to Deepdale? Not a place that Barnsley have often done well, really.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, two teams that can relax really and maybe just go out and express themselves. So you could get a really decent game, or it could be one of those that after an hour it just goes a little bit flat because people don't want to take a chance, get injured. You got to be careful with that, though. You got to sort of just play the games as right as you can. So it's a difficult one to predict. I mean, I do think that, like I said, the manager and Callum said there, he'll want to keep that momentum, and I think for us we've kind of shown that as long as we get the tempo right and we're sort of at it, we're okay. So he'll want to see that, I think. And I say it could be one of those games where it turns out to be a really entertaining, something daft like a 3-3 draw or whatever. But I think for us, it's not particularly about that. It's just getting that performance level right.
Yeah. Quick score prediction for you then, Wayne, for Saturday.
I'll go 2-1 to us.
2-1. Callum?
I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say because the pressure's off and everyone's relaxed, Preston haven't got anything to play for. I'm going to say 3-0 Barnsley. 3-0.
I'll go 1-0 then. I'll go in the middle. All predicting in a way.
Can I just say about the Tenerife thing?
What was that, Wayne?
Can I just say something about the Tenerife thing? I'm not surprised he sent Craig away for 4 days, because he'd probably get him out going in his ear all the time. But we were really close that one year. We got taken 1 December to train on the beach at Bridlington. That was great, that.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant. Lads, thank you very much. Thanks very much for your time, lads.
Wow.
Been an absolute pleasure. And we'll speak again next week, and then hopefully it'll be a full steam ahead for the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Goodbye, Wayne. Cheers.
Make it easy. Cheers.
Cheers, Cal.
See you, Cal.
Cheers. See you later.
Thanks to everybody who listens and watches along. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere else. You know where to get us. Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place, Callum, aren't we? And we'll be back next week.
Everywhere.
We'll be back next week with more Red Sky. Big match preview, big match review. Goodbye from me and goodbye from you, Cal.
Goodbye from me.